Hello everybody and welcome back. As always, my name is Addie and this is the Knits by AJ Knitting podcast and this is episode 68. I do apologise first off because my neighbours are doing some kind of construction. This is the only day I have to film this video because my mum has kindly agreed to look after my daughter today. So yeah, we're just going to try and have to work through whatever my neighbours are doing. I'm sure they won't be going on with it forever, but unfortunately, yeah, this is the one time that I have to film this video, and of course they're being noisy. Anyway, I hope you've all had a wonderful couple of weeks. I do have a dog behind me as well, and he has been snoring. Oh my goodness, that is the most comfortable you've ever looked. Yeah, I do have a dog with me, and he has been snoring quite loudly recently, so hopefully he doesn't start up in the middle of this video as well, but like I say, I just can't do anything to control the noise. I did have the other one with me as well, but he has gone off somewhere else, so he may return at some point. But anyway, like I say, I hope you've all had a wonderful couple of weeks. It has been so busy here, so unbelievably busy, but I have managed to get some work done on my knitting. So I'm going to take the time to share it with you all today. So yeah, without further waffle, let's get into some knitting. So I have one finished object and 4 whips to talk through today. But before I get into those, I will just briefly mention what I'm wearing. So this is the Friday tee by Petite Knit. I knit this up out of Knitting for Olive Merino in the colours Rose Clay and Rust. And I think I finished this like 3 years ago and I wear it a lot. I think I mentioned this in my rating my summer knits video that I put out in the spring. And I think, like I've said in that, I really do wear this a lot. It is one of my favourite knit t-shirts. And yeah, it was a real slog to knit it, but since then I have worn it a lot since. I'd say I wear it like at least 2 or 3 times a week. So yeah, it was well worth it. And I would like to knit another one if I can muster up the courage to knit another one, because it did take what felt like forever, but maybe because I've already knit it once, it wouldn't take quite so long, or it wouldn't feel like it was taking quite so long the second time. So yeah, that is what I am wearing today. Whilst I'm mentioning that video, the rating my summer knits video that I put out, I am considering doing one for all of my jumpers and rating all of those. So if you would like to see that video, please do let me know in the comments below and I can kind of bump it up the list of videos that I've got planned for the next couple of weeks. But yeah, without further waffle, let's get into my one finished object of this week. So if you watched last week's video, then you will know that I have been making some knitted ornaments to go in my daughter's advent calendar this year, and I have finished another one. So I am keeping them in this really badly wrapped box, which I wrapped up in some of our Christmas wrapping paper from last week. I got this from Soster & Gren, and I thought it was very fitting because it has little sort of, oh, they're all falling over in there. Little snowmen and houses and trees and mushrooms and all that kind of thing. And I just thought it was very, very cute. And, you know, I had an extra shoebox lying around and I thought it was cheaper than buying a nice fancy box. So I made my own. So yeah, this week I have made a little tiny donut. So I have made this pattern before. Oh, sorry, a tiny little donut. My notes are down here. If you see me looking down here, that's what I'm looking at. This pattern is by Julie Williams, who also goes by Little Cotton Rabbits, I believe. I think that's what she is known by on Ravelry. And I think her Instagram is also the same. But yeah, this is a pattern by Julie Williams, and I have made this before. So when my daughter was 2, for Christmas we got her a Maleg doll's house, and I made a fair few things to go in it. One of them was a set of these 4 donuts. So these are the ones that I made originally for the doll's house. They are very, very small, very, very cute. And were perfect to go in the doll's house. Now these would be far too small to put on a Christmas tree, especially the little 4-foot one that my daughter has. They would get completely lost in the branches. So I made a bigger one. Now I did make some modifications to the pattern for this, and I followed instructions that are on HIRIS Ravelry project page for her version. And I think she did a full video on her knit ornaments. But yeah, this was like heavily influenced by her version. So I followed her instructions. The only thing that I did differently to her version was that I knit mine in the round and then seamed up the center here. Whereas in the pattern, you would also have a seam here. So you'd knit the whole thing flat, seam it together, and then you'd seam the outer edges together. I decided I didn't want to do that. I decided I just want to knit mine in the round and then also just seam it around the edge and stuff as I go. So that was the other like modification that I made to mine. So I used all scrap yarns to make these. I have no idea what any of these yarns are because they are just the tiny little balls of scrap yarn that I had lying around in my stash. So I decided to do, because I didn't have very much of either of these pinks, so I decided to stripe them. And then I used a tweed for the like dough portion of the donut. And I think it looks pretty donutty, to be perfectly honest. I really couldn't be bothered to go out and actually buy like specific yarns for these ornaments. I really wanted to use up as many of my scraps as I possibly can. And I think that this is still pretty effective. It looks like a donut. I don't think it really matters. But I think if I was to make this again, I would go down to a 3mm needle. I used a 4mm needle to knit this. And I used DK weight yarn. Well, actually, no, sorry. The two pinks are DK weight. And the tweed is fingering weight held double. And I think I would go down to a 3mm so that I could get a bit more of like a tight gauge on this because it is a bit gappy. Once I put the stuffing in there, it was a bit, you could sort of see it through the stitches and like, especially on the bottom. I don't know if it's going to show on camera, but yeah, the stitches are looser than I would have wanted them to, especially when I look at it like compared to, where's another one? Like the pretzel that I made that with DK weight yarn on a 3mm needle. And I just think it looks a little bit neater and it holds its shape a little bit better. So I think going forward, I will be using the 3mm needle so that I can have a bit more of a like tight, dense gauge on these. But other than that, I'm very, very happy with this. I added some little gold beads just to give it a little bit of sparkle to kind of mimic sprinkles. And they were an absolute pain to work with. I only had a like regular sewing needle, not like a specific like bead needle or something. And I'm not sure if maybe that would help or if it was just a defect in some of the beads. But the holes in the middle, they weren't uniform. Some of them were slightly too small and I would get them to a certain point on my needle and then they would just snap. So I did end up sort of losing a fair few beads in the process of making this donut, but it's not the end of the world. I have so many that I'm not imminently about to run out or anything. But yes, that is my ornament of the week. I do need to make this week's, but I haven't picked a pattern yet. So I will be doing that and making another one and hopefully have another couple to show you next time I film as well. So I cast that on the 10th of August and I cast it off on the 10th of August. So it took me a grand total of 1 day to knit. So that was my one finished object for the week. Now we are into my whips. So my first whip is my thermal stitch socks. This is a pattern by Ash of Smash Knits. I wouldn't actually say it was a pattern really. I'm just following her Ravelry notes because I saw that she had made these on her knitting podcast and I decided I needed to make myself a pair because I thought they looked absolutely beautiful. Although she made hers out of like a really beautiful green and I am making mine out of this beautiful gold colour. So this is Dinah's Home of Craft Silk Cashmere Merino blend. I don't have the exact makeup of it. I'll have to see if I can find it online and then put it on the screen somewhere because I did have the ball band on my desk and I must have knocked it off and a golden retriever decided to bring it to me and made it all wet and slobbery, so it had to go in the bin. We have kind of made a bit of a breakthrough with Biggs's training where he won't chew things now, but he will pick them up and bring them to me. But to be honest, I think that's just in the nature of a golden retriever and I'm not sure it's something that we can really train out of him that easily. But you know, we will continue to work on him and his training, but he's doing really well. I taught him how to do a high five this week, which was so much fun. But yeah, he's having a nap over there. Right, anyway, less dog talk, more knitting. So like I showed last week, I have finished the first sock, and I was working on the second sock last week, and I think I realised in the podcast that I'd made a mistake in knitting the second sock. So the thermal stitch pattern is it's a 4-round repeat. So you do 2 rounds of stockinette and then you do 2 rounds of 2x2 ribbing. And I forgot when I started the second sock that I needed to start on a knit round, not a ribbing round, so that there was like a break between the ribbing that I was doing for the cuff of the sock and then like the leg of the sock. Otherwise it just looked like you just did an extra 2 rounds of ribbing. So I had to pull back what I had last week because I had started on a rib round instead of a knit round, and I had to redo it. So I can't actually remember how much I'd done, maybe like 3 pattern repeats, but yeah, I pulled it back and now I've made a fair bit of progress on the second sock. So I've done all of the ribbing. So there's 30 rounds of 2x2 rib, which I did on a 2mm needle, and then there's 20 pattern repeats for the leg, which I have now done the right way round. So I have got the 2 knit rounds here instead of the 2 rib rounds. And then I've used the heel pattern from the Charming Colourwork Socks book by Stone Knits. And then I'm doing 19 pattern repeats for the foot, but I've only done 10 on this one so far, so I've got 9 more to do. And then I'm just doing straight stockinette on the bottom of the foot. So I've made a fair bit of progress on these. They've been really nice to kind of just work on as and when I've got like 5 minutes, because I'm doing the magic loop. I don't really need to like think about it. Like the top needle has got the pattern on it, the bottom needle is just stockinette. And I remember from the first one that the foot just absolutely flew because the back of them is stockinette. I did kind of feel a little bit like they were taking absolute ages when I was working on the leg. I had a little bit of second sock syndrome because I think like when I was doing the first one, the pattern was all fun and easy and like interesting to do because I was on the first one. And then obviously once you get around to the second one, 20 pattern repeats feels like a hell of a lot. So yeah, the leg felt like a bit of a slog, but now that I'm through the heel and into the foot, these are just flying, and I should hopefully have them done by the next time I film because I cannot wait to wear these. I am done with summer now. I'm done with it. Like, to me, summer is over. The trees outside have started to change. They're all starting to, like, the leaves are starting to change. Like, the weather has finally started to cool down after we had our 4th heat wave, which was unpleasant. And yeah, it feels like autumn's coming. There's a little bit of a chill in the air when I go out with the dogs in the morning. And yeah, I'm just done with summer. We've had 4 heat waves since April and it just feels like a bit much this year. So yeah, I'm just done with summer now. I'm ready for autumn. Like summer is dead to me now. So yeah, I don't think I ever mentioned the colour of this yarn, sorry. It's pure gold. And I think it's a pretty accurate colour name for this. It's just absolutely stunning. And look at the shine on this. It's so shiny. I love it. And I can't wait to be able to wear these socks. I think they're just going to be so cozy. They just scream like cozy sock, like squishiness. And yeah, I'm fully here for this pair of socks and all of the autumn goodness now. So yeah, hopefully we'll have these done by next time I film. I cast these on July the 18th. So these have currently been on my needles for 32 days. And just looking through my notes, have I forgotten anything? Oh, so when I was working these up, I was reading Ash's notes and she says to just start on round 1 of the pattern, which is a knit round. And I worked out that when I was going to do the pattern, if I did so the pattern starts with a knit 1 when you do the ribbing round, and then you do knit 1 then purl 2, and I decided I wanted to move my beginning of round 1 stitch to the left so that I would have all of the columns of the rib rounds match up. So yeah, I moved my beginning of round 1 stitch to the left, and then if you look at them, then all of the knit rounds just go straight down the sock, and there's not like a jog just after the cuff. So yeah, that's the only modification that I did, other than the fact that I'm knitting mine on 64 stitches instead of 72. So yeah, that is my thermal stitch socks. Okay, sorry if everything is moved. I had to go and get a new battery for my camera because I forgot to check how much battery I had in it before I started filming. So yeah, new battery, and also the other dog. So where was I? Whip number 2. So whip number 2 is my Lake Stripe Tee, which is a pattern by OZETTA, and I am modifying mine to be a long-sleeved fingering weight jumper instead of a short sleeve fingering weight t-shirt. So I'm knitting size 3 instead of size 1. I'm using a 3.25 and a 2.75mm needle, and I've made a fair bit of progress on this, but not as much as I would necessarily have liked to. And that is purely because I can't read. So I have finished the body. And where was I? So yeah, I did put a marker in for where I was last time. So I was here, and I've done 2 more contrast stripes and a main colour stripe, and then I've done the ribbing. So I changed the ribbing on this. So all of my ribbing is standard 1x1 ribbing instead of 1x1 half twisted rib, because I don't like half twisted rib, and I just didn't think it fit with the vibe of the jumper that I'm going for with this. So yeah, like I did on the neckband, I have done 1x1 standard ribbing. I've just realised that there was a purl ridge here, and maybe I should have done a purl ridge on the bottom of the body, but I haven't, and I'm not about to go and do that now. So yeah, we will just have to just live without it on the bottom of the body. But to be honest, I don't think you're really going to notice. So yeah, not the end of the world. So yeah, I also added in the like little contrast bind off onto the bottom of the body like I did for the neckband. And to do that, all I did was knit my ribbing as I usually would in the main colour. And then I did 1 knit round in the contrast colour, so I wouldn't get any little sort of bits of the main colour showing on the contrast colour stripe for the ribbing on the purl bumps. And then I did 1 round of 1x1 rib in the contrast colour, and I did the setup rounds and the bind off in the contrast colour as well, because I did a tubular bind off, so I did the 2 double knit setup rounds. So yeah, the ribbing on this is so stretchy. I'm really glad that I did the tubular bind off, because I always feel like I get a really good amount of stretch on my bind offs when I do a tubular bind off. So yeah, I added a fair bit of length to the body on this. So with the ribbing, the pattern says to knit 30 centimeters for the body from the underarm, and mine ended up being 38.5 centimeters for the body, including the ribbing from the underarm. And I think that's purely because where this is a t-shirt pattern, I think maybe it's made to be slightly more cropped than a jumper pattern would. And also I have a long torso, so I usually have to add length to the body of my jumpers anyway. So I did 6.5 centimeters extra stockinette on the bottom of the body, and then I did an extra 2 centimeters of ribbing as well, because I did a 5 centimeter double folded collar, so 10 centimeters of ribbing, and then I folded it over, so it's 5 centimeters, 2 inches for the collar, and then I decided to do a matching 2 inches of rib on the body, so that it all worked out to be the same. And then I'll do the same on the ribbing on the sleeves as well, so that it all matches up. I just felt like a longer ribbing would kind of match up with like the jumper vibe that I was going for better than the shorter ribbing. And also I just like a deep rib on my jumpers. So yeah, I found that 2 inches is like the sweet spot of ribbing for me, of what I like to have. So that's what I did. but that's kind of everything that I've done on this week, because I think I misread OZETTA's Instagram post where she said that she was going to be adding in the update to the pattern for the shorts, for the long sleeves. I thought that it was going to be last week, but I think it's actually going to be this week coming. So I haven't actually been able to do any work on this because I don't want to start the sleeves as they are in the pattern for the short sleeve at the moment and then find that the update is actually slightly different. I'm pretty sure that it won't be, but to not have to like knit it and then rip it back, I'd rather just wait for the update to come out and then knit the updated sleeves instead of knitting the short sleeves and then having to rip back potentially. So yeah, I just haven't picked up the sleeves yet and I'm just waiting for that update to come up. But I'm very happy with how this is turning out so far. I think that the colours work really well together. Like I've said before, the yarn is just an absolute delight. It's so buttery soft and I'm really, really enjoying working with it. It's not at all splitty or anything. So the yarn that I'm using is the Woolly Knit Merino 4-ply, and my main colour is the Mulhaken Oatmeal, and my contrast colour is the Medula Green. And I'm very, very glad that these come in 200-gram hanks, because it means that I've had enough yardage to be able to add in that extra length to the body that I wanted. I do have another like little ball of this main colour hanging about on my desk over there, because it broke whilst I was winding, so I ended up with an extra little ball of it. So I don't think I'm going to run out of yarn. I'm pretty sure that I'm not going to be playing yarn chicken, which I'm very happy about. And then obviously I'm going to have a fair bit of that green left over that I'm going to use for something else down the line as well. So yeah, I'm very, very happy with this. I'm just waiting for that update. So hopefully that comes in soon and I'll be able to add in some more progress on this, because I do want to be able to wear it fairly soon. Like I said before, I'm just done with the summer now. I want to be wearing my jumpers. And we did have a chilly day, one chilly day, where it was like 16 degrees and I was like, oh, I could really do with a fingering weight jumper right now. But my fingering weight jumper that I want to wear is not finished because it has no sleeves. So yeah, there is that. So hopefully I will be able to get the sleeves done on this fairly soon, and then I will be able to wear it because by that point the weather should cool down significantly and I'll be able to wear my fingering weight jumper. So that is my Lakes Stripe tee, and I cast this on the 5th of July, and so it's currently been on my needles for 45 days. So that was whip number 2. Whip number 3 is the first of a couple of new cast-ons that I've got. And so this is the Cuff Club Volume 2 by Summer Lee. Now I did Cuff Club Volume 1. I didn't do every month of the Cuff Club Volume 1. God, that is so difficult to say. But I did a fair few of them and I really enjoyed it. So I, without even really needing to think about it, purchased Volume 2. I just like getting a new sock pattern every month. I like getting a new little updated little bit of the pattern every month and being able to knit it or not knit it if I want to, or come back to it and everything. I just like getting a new pattern every month. And most of the time I do actually knit them, so it felt like it was good value for money. I also like the fact that it's not a subscription service. So you pay once and then you get the whole year's worth of updates. You don't have to keep paying every month. I really, really like that because I feel like there are enough subscription services in the world at the moment. Like I don't need them for my sock knitting patterns as well. So yeah, I purchased the Cuff Club Volume 2. And I have started on the first of the patterns. So this month for August, we got 2 charts. There was a colourwork one and there was a cabled one, and I decided to knit the cabled one. I'm really glad that Summer Lee has added in, like she said that she's adding in texture and lace and all that kind of thing, but there are still colourwork versions as well. I think it's just such a versatile pattern, and I really do like that you get a new one every month, and quite often there is a bonus chart as well. So yeah, I think it's well worth the money if you were on the fence, because what is it, like £11 or something for the whole year? And you think sometimes if you're buying a sock pattern, it's what, maybe £4 or £5 per pattern. So you're essentially getting like 10 months free, really. So yeah, the way this works is that you get the base pattern and then you get an update every month with a different colour work or lace or cable chart for the cuff of your sock. So I'm just going to work through the construction noise from next door, because if I stop every time they make noise, then I will never get this filmed. So yeah, I am doing the cable chart. There was also a colourwork chart for August, and I am using a sock set from The Lonely Knitter. So this was based on the Addams Family. It was a Halloween special from last year, and so this is the main colour. The sock set was called Unhappy Darling, and this is the contrast mini. And it worked out quite nicely because I'd completely forgotten that the new series of Wednesday was coming out, or at least the first part of it. So I was knitting on these whilst I was watching the new series of Wednesday. So yeah, had an Addams Family themed sock set to knit whilst watching an Addams Family themed programme. So it felt quite fitting. So I have been working on these a fair bit because with the Cuff Club, you have the sort of colourwork or cables or lace or whatever is on the cuff of the sock, and then the majority of the sock is just stockinette. It was very, very easy to just have these as like travel knitting. And me and my husband went on a little trip. My mother-in-law looked after my daughter and the dogs for the day, and we went into London and we went to a variety of different yarn shops. I do have a little bit of a haul to show at the end of this video. So yeah, we had a really lovely day traveling around London, and there was a lot of like trains, buses, that kind of thing on that day. And then we've been doing lots of trips out with my daughter as well, because my husband took some time off. So there's been lots of times where I've just been sat on a train or a bus or in the car. And so I had lots of time to work on stockinette socks. I don't like to do anything too complicated whilst I'm sat and we're traveling, because I do get a little bit travel sick. So yeah, stockinette socks are my go-to for when we're out and about. So I finished the first sock. So I used the mini to do the cables on the cuff, and then I've done the body and the heel of the sock in the main colour, and then I've done the toe in the mini as well. So I did make one change from how I would usually do my socks. Because I was doing cables on the cuff, to make sure that they weren't too tight, I used a 2.25mm needle instead of my usual 2mm needle for the ribbing. And I don't know if I necessarily needed to do it. These are very, very stretchy and they do fit fine, but I'm glad that I didn't end up with them being too tight, because that would have been a bit of a nightmare. Having to like undo all of my progress and then re-knit it because I couldn't get it over my heel. So yeah, I'm very glad that I did actually make that change, because I think maybe they would have been ever so slightly too tight on a 2mm because of where the cables are and the way that they like pull in ever so slightly more than standard ribbing. So I didn't use a cable needle to do my cables because they are only like 2-stitch cables. They're very, very easy to do, where you don't even have to like take your stitches off the needle. You can just knit into one stitch and then knit into the one behind it and take them both off at the same time. And Summer Lee does walk through that in the pattern. She gives you some notes on how to knit cables without a cable needle, which I think is a really lovely little... Oh, you're there. The other dog is down here and is now snoring. So yeah, she talks you through doing that in the pattern, which I think is a lovely little sort of piece of information to add in. But other than the cables, it was then very, very simple stockinette. I did 30 rounds for the leg, and then I did the heel flap and gusset from the base pattern. And then I've done 70 rounds after the gusset decreases for the foot. And these little light bulb markers are just to mark. So there's one at the end of the gusset decreases, and then I put them in every 10 rounds so that then when I do the second sock, I can just add them in as I go, and I don't really need to like take time to count my rounds or anything. And I know that they both match. So yeah, I finished sock 1, and then I've cast on and done some of sock 2. So I've done all of the cables for the rib. I did that all to pattern, did the pattern repeats, the amount of repeats of the chart in the pattern. and then I'm just working down the leg. So I did the cables for the cuff on Magic Loop on a 2.25mm needle, and then I've changed to a small circular 2.25mm needle for the like main body of the leg and the foot, and I do my heel flap on Magic Loop as well. So yeah, there's a little bit of changing of needles in these, but nothing too strenuous or anything. And I'm just really enjoying having the Cuff Club back for another year. I really, really enjoy it, and I'm very, very happy with the like new additions that Summer Lee has been adding in. I think she's sort of made enough changes that it's kind of worth it for the year. But like I say, because it's like getting essentially like 10 months of sock patterns for free, I think it's a really like cost-effective way to invest in a good amount of sock patterns and everything. And yeah, I just really like it. So that is my progress on the Cuff Club Volume 2. The yarn is absolutely wonderful. It's on Laura's Luxe sock base, which is a 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. I've used it loads of times before. It's the same base as the mini skein set that I used for my pink and green striped Wicked theme socks. And yeah, I really, really like it. I think it holds up really well. And yeah, I'll continue to use it whenever I get a sock set from her. So yeah, I really, really like the yarn. I think it's really, really soft, but it also holds up really, really well. So I cast these on the 5th, no, when did I? Oh yeah, I cast these on the 5th of August. So I have had these on my needles for 14 days. And yeah, just gonna carry on working on them as and when I have a moment to get a couple of stitches in on some stockinette socks. Okay, so that was whip number 3. Whip number 4 is a whip, but I haven't actually cast on yet. So I am doing my first test knit of this year. I think it's my first test knit of the year. I'm pretty sure it's my first test knit of the year. And I am testing for the lovely Iris of HIRIS Makes. I have tested for her twice before, and I'm testing for her again because I love her patterns and I couldn't not sign up to test this pattern. So I am testing the Edale Sweater. Oh, there it is. I momentarily lost my swatch. So I'm testing the Edale Sweater, and I have decided to do mine in a really nice charcoal. And I don't have a like basic dark jumper in my wardrobe, and I wanted something that was gonna fit that little tiny gap that I had in the wardrobe. And I saw this design, I thought it was beautiful, and decided that I had to have it. So the Edale Sweater is a raglan construction with like a funnel neck and this beautiful ribbing detail. So the ribbing comes down, like flows down from the collar through the raglan, and then it carries on down the body and the sleeves. And I just thought it was absolutely stunning. And it's an 18 stitch by 24 row gauge. And I decided to use 2 yarns held together for my version. So I'm using Filcolana Saga in the colour medium grey. It is showing up a little bit darker on camera, but it is like a full sort of medium grey. I think that's more like what it is in person. And then I'm holding it with a strand of Filcolana Alva, yeah, which is a 100% alpaca in the colour charcoal, and this is showing much more black on camera. It's definitely more charcoal, but they blend together to make the most beautiful fabric, because the Saga is a 100% lamb's wool and the Alva is 100% alpaca. So they bloom up so nicely. So I'm still in the swatching phase of this so far. I'm going to be knitting up size 1, which is the smallest size of the pattern, which is made to fit a 75 centimetre chest. I have a 77 centimetre chest. And so, yeah, I think it's going to fit me perfectly fine. I think I end up with 23 centimetres of positive ease, and you get between, the pattern recommends, I think it's between 10 and 25 or 12 and 25. I'll confirm that up here somewhere. But yeah, I'm still in the swatching phase of the pattern so far. I haven't actually cast on yet. I just want to make sure that my gauge is bang on. So I've swatched on a 4mm needle, which is what is suggested in the pattern, because previously I have managed to get the same gauge as Iris, the designer, with the same needle size, but I think I might, well, I have also started swatching on a 4.5, because on a 4, the recommended gauge is 18 stitches and 24 rounds. And I am getting 18 stitches on a 4, but I'm getting 32 rounds per 10 centimeters. So I thought what I would do is I would test what my gauge is on a 4.5 and see if I can get closer to that row gauge, but still get the 18 stitches for the pattern. Now, I think the 18 stitches is perfectly fine in this yarn. It is on the sort of lighter DK sort of end of the scale, but it's not gapey at all, and it is beautifully soft and beautifully drapey, so I think it's going to work really, really well. But the structure is going to be really, really good from the lamb's wool. So the alpaca kind of gives me like the bloom and the like fills in all the gaps and everything, but the lamb's wool is sort of giving me all the structure that I need. So yeah, I'm going to try on the 4.5mm needle. So I have started that. So this is my swatch on the 4.5. So I think you can probably see that my fabric isn't too different between the 4.5 and the 4. So I'm hoping that I'm just going to get a better row gauge and it's not going to change my stitch gauge too much, because sometimes I do find that the stitch gauge doesn't change all that much. It's a lot of the row gauge that changes when I change needle size. So like I say, I'm just going to give it a go on the 4.5. If my stitch gauge is way, way off, then I will have to speak to Iris about what I can do about my gauge, whether or not that's going to be okay, or if I need to sort of rethink my yarn choice or whatever. But I think that I'm going to be okay on a 4.5. I'll just have to see once I've washed and blocked my swatch, but I have a little bit more of it to knit. So yeah, I think it's going to be okay, but we shall see. This yarn combination is like an absolute cloud, like because it's lamb's wool, and the lamb's wool for this in the Saga is woolen spun, so it has 0 weight to it. It's 300 meters, I think, to 50 grams. Yeah, 300 meters per 50 grams. So there's just there's nothing of it. You get so much yardage because it is woolen spun and it just weighs nothing because there's so much air in it. And I used Saga before for my Ivy top, which I test knit for Iris, not February just gone, but the February beforehand. And it just creates the most beautiful fabric. It blooms so nicely. It's really, really lovely, lightweight, breathable yarn. And I think it's going to work really, really nicely with the Alva as well. This is just so soft. I have a bit of a sensitivity to mohair, so I wanted an equivalent so that I could have like a little bit of fluff and still use the Saga and still get a DK weight yarn without having to hold this double. So yeah, I'm hoping that this is going to work out okay. I've done a little bit of a test with my swatch of like holding it next to my neck, and I've worn it actually like in my collar around the house like this, looking like a complete crazy lady. But yeah, I've not got any like issue with it, because I did kind of feel a little bit concerned because of the alpaca in this, whether or not it was going to irritate my neck. But it doesn't at all. It's very, very soft, very, very easy to wear. So I think with that high neck as well, I'm not going to really have any problems. So yeah, I need to finish my swatch on my 4.5mm needle, and then I will hopefully be able to get this cast on, because I cannot wait to have this in my wardrobe. One of my friends is also testing this, and she is doing a matching one, so I'm very excited for us to have matching jumpers, but I don't think she's cast on yet either. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to getting going on that, because while I can't work on my Lakes pullover, it'd be nice to get going on the raglan of this, so then when I can get back to my Lake stripe tee, I can get through all of like the short rows and everything that begin in the sleeve, and I've gotten through the like complicated bit of the raglan on this and just getting going on the body or whatever, or the sleeves. So yeah, it'd be nice to be able to alternate those. So yeah, that is my Edale sweater. Obviously I haven't cast it on yet, but I did do my swatch yesterday, so I suppose technically it's been on the needles for a day if we want to count my swatching time. But yes, I'm very, very much looking forward to getting that fully on the needles so that I can have it to snuggle up in. I've also ordered myself a pair of white corduroy dungarees off of Vinted, because I only ever buy my dungarees secondhand now because I can't justify spending the ridiculous amount of money that they are full price. So yeah, I always buy them secondhand. But yeah, I was thinking this underneath the white corduroy dungarees is going to be a really nice little combo to have, and might mean that I won't need to wear my coat straight away when the weather finally does its flip-flop into cold, because we don't have a gradual change anymore. It's like either it's roasting or not. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to having it in my wardrobe and also to knitting it because I really love Iris's patterns. I love the way that they're written, and I don't think that this is going to be any different. So yeah, that is all I have knitting wise. I do now have a fair bit of yarn to share, because I've kind of gone a little bit bananas on buying yarn, and I now feel like I shouldn't buy any more yarn for a very long time. I also realised that I've just left one upstairs, so bear with me 1 second while I go and get that. Okay, so I have, like I say, gone a bit bananas on buying yarn. So I think it was a couple of weeks ago now. It was like just after, it was the day that the last podcast came out. Me and my husband went into London and we went and visited 3 yarn shops in London. We went to Knit with Attitude, Loop and Beautiful Knitters. And I bought yarn in all 3 shops. Because you can't go into a yarn shop and not buy yarn, basically. So the first one we went to was Knit with Attitude. It was so nice to find a yarn shop that isn't actually that far away from me. It's pretty easy to get to on the train. It's basically like a couple of stops. So I was very excited to find a new to me yarn shop, and I picked up a couple of balls whilst I was there. So the first thing I got was a skein of the Fibre Space Cumulus. I heard a lot about this online and I really wanted to try out Suri because obviously alpaca is not really something that sort of I have too much of a sensitivity to, but mohair is. But I wanted to find a mohair equivalent because sometimes I do want a bit of fluff to add to some of my knits. So I thought I'd give this a go, and I don't think that I have a sensitivity to it. I have like held it here for a fair while and not found it too itchy. Even on really hot days, I've tried it to sort of kind of figure out where the level is for me, and I think that this is absolutely fine. So this is 74% baby Suri alpaca, 26% mulberry silk, and this is colour 935 Sfagnals. I'm trying my best. But it's this beautiful kind of like pickle green. And I want to make myself some fingerless gloves this year because I am obviously out and about a lot with the dogs. So I wanted something that was going to keep my hands warm. And I thought, what better colour to do than green? Because let's be honest, everything that I have is green. So yeah, I picked that up to try out a pair of fingerless mitts. Also, whilst I'm trying out different types of yarn to like hold with regular wool, I thought it'd be good to do like a smaller project so then it's not too much of an investment. So yeah, gonna make myself some fingerless mitts. And the other thing that I picked up in Knit with Attitude was 2 skeins of the River Knits Chimera, which is like a marled yarn with multiple different colours. It reminds me very much of Spin Cycle because it's like 2 different colours sort of plied together in the same way that they're like hand spun is. And I thought this was really, really interesting. And I bought this to be a contrast colour in a colourwork jumper, which I will talk about when I've shown you the other colours that I bought for that. But this is a 100% BFL wool. It's spun and dyed in the UK. It's hand dyed. And this is the colourway Rainforest. And I just thought that this was very me. Like 2 different types of green, some pink. There's a little bit of blue in there as well. I just thought it was very, very me. And I really, really liked the color combination. I like how vibrant it is and everything. I just thought it was a really interesting. Why? I just thought it was a really interesting yarn. So yeah, I got 2 of these. They're 115 meters per 50 gram. And yeah, so that was what I picked up in Knit with Attitude. I did also really appreciate the fact that I managed to go in and look at the twig and horn needle cases, because I am looking to, oh my God. I am looking to upgrade my needle storage fairly soon, so it was really nice to be able to go in and have a look at those. They also had the, is it thread and maple ones? So they were quite tempting as well, but I think they are maybe a little bit out of my budget. So yeah, really great selection. Definitely recommend if you are in the area, or maybe checking them out online as well. So yeah, that was what I got from Knit with Attitude. Okay, so next shop I went into was Loop, and I picked up another couple of skeins whilst I was there. So first thing I picked up was 2 skeins of the Biche & Bouche Le Petit Lamb's Wool, because I really wanted to try this out. I've wanted to try this out for a really long time. So I got 2 skeins in the Blanc or white colorway, and my thought process was that with this was to hold 1 strand of the lamb's wool with 1 strand of the Chroma Nima cashmere lace that I got in the goodie bag from East Anglia Yarn Festival. So I've been trying to figure out what I wanted to hold this with to make myself a scarf, because I really wanted a nice luxurious scarf. I don't actually have any scarves. Definitely don't think I've knit a scarf for myself, like a full length scarf. I've knit like a little tiny scarf, but not like a full length scarf, which is probably what I'm going to get more wear out of, because I don't actually wear the small scarf that I made for myself. My daughter gets more use out of it. So yeah, I want to make myself a scarf out of these, and I thought that they would be a really nice match for each other. And I thought if I kept the lamb's wool in like a very neutral plain colour, then it will let the little dollop of indigo in the cashmere really shine. And I thought they were just a really nice combination. This is also quite grey, and this is also very cream sort of based. So I think they should sort of balance themselves out and make a little bit of a marl as well to make it a little bit more interesting. So yeah, I got those to go with the Chroma Nima. And then the other thing that I picked up whilst I was in Loop was 1 skein of the King Fibre 100% merino. It's the Dashing Fingering colourway in the colour Lapine. And I just thought this was so much fun. I will say I did think that I picked up a sock yarn, so something with nylon in. I didn't realise until I got home that it was actually just merino. So I'm going to have to rethink what I was going to use this for ever so slightly. But I'm sure that this will get a lot of use in some format, probably a hat or something. But yeah, I thought this was just a really fun colorway. I think it could also end up being something for my daughter because she really likes it, or maybe even a contrast in color work. But yeah, I really, really liked this skein, and I wanted to pick up some fun colorways whilst I was there as well. And I've never tried out King Fibre, so I thought, what better chance will I have to use some of this lovely yarn, or pick up some of this lovely yarn in person, than when I'm in Loop. So yes, that is what I picked up in Loop. And the last yarn shop that I went to was Beautiful Knitters, and I got 2 more skeins in Beautiful Knitters. So first thing I picked up was a skein of the Knitting for Olive Cotton Merino in the colour Lime Yellow, which is this lovely yellowy green. And it's coming out a bit more yellow on camera, but it's definitely a yellowy green. And I picked this up to hold with the Fibre Spates. And I think the colour match is pretty good, to be honest, to make a pair of mittens, for, well, fingerless mittens for myself. I would have liked to have gotten the merino from Knitting for Olive, but they don't have the merino in this colour. And I thought, since I'm probably going to end up making myself a pair of full mittens or full gloves anyway. So my fingerless mittens don't necessarily need to be like the most warm thing in the world. And I'm pretty sure that the alpaca, like the baby alpaca and silk fibre spates will make up for the lack of warmth that I'll get from not having wool. Also, there is a fair bit of wool in this. It's a 70% organic cotton, 30% extra fine merino. So I think it's more just I want something to cover my hands to protect them from the wind than make them like the warmest thing in the world. Also, I've always found with fingerless mittens that it doesn't matter how thick a wool I make them in or how much mohair I add or whatever, my fingertips are still going to get cold. So I want to make myself full length gloves as well. So I don't need these to be the warmest thing in the world. I just need them to protect my hands from some cold and from the wind. But I think this colour match is really lovely. I think this is going to be a really nice fabric to knit up with, and the colour match is really, really good, which is what I wanted. So it was nice to have this one with me so that I could pick out the colourway for this, because otherwise I don't think I would have got such a good match. So yeah, that is the first thing that I picked up from Beautiful Knitters. And the last thing that I got was a skein of Telling Yarns Steadfast, which is a DK yarn. It's 50% BFL, 30% Romney, 15% Masham, and 5% Zouable. I think it's Zouable, but I could be wrong. It's 100% British wool, and you get 232 meters for 100 grams. And this colorway is so lovely. I can't actually remember what this is called, Rose Hip. And it's just absolutely stunning. And so I got this to but to use alongside the Rainforest yarn that I got from Knit with Attitude. And then I also did an order from Knitting for Olive. Oh my goodness. And I got 7 skeins of their heavy merino in the colour Pea Shoots. And I got these 3 to make a Peatlands jumper by Coco Moore Knitwear. I did initially sign up to test knit the Peatlands, but I was unsuccessful in signing up for the test knit, which is absolutely fine because now I'm test knitting another jumper anyway. But yeah, I got this combination to make one of those when that pattern is released, because I thought it was going to be a really fun like colourwork yoke. And then, like, honestly, this is just very me, this Pea Shoots colour. I just absolutely love it. It's very similar to, it's a little bit lighter, but quite similar to the Gepard Woollier Olive colourway. And I've never tried out the heavy merino before. I have used the merino by Knitting for Olive and always had really good experience with that. So I'm very excited to try out their heavy merino. So yeah, I ordered 7 skeins of that as well. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this pattern releasing so that I can get going on this, because I think it's going to be a really fun colourwork jumper and a really nice kind of like bright addition to my wardrobe in the cooler, more dreary months of the winter. So yeah, that is everything that I got yarn wise. And then obviously I did buy the yarn for my Edale sweater as well. So yeah, quite a lot of yarn purchases recently, but there are plans for all of them and I will end up using all of them. So yeah, that's everything that I got on our little jaunt around some of the London yarn shops and also what I ordered online. So yeah, that is all I have for acquisitions this week, although there are quite a lot. So yeah, hopefully you have stuck around through all of that. I really do appreciate it if you have. Thank you so very much for watching. And it was lovely to have you here. As always, I would love to know what you guys have been working on whilst you've been listening to me waffle on about my knitting. I'm sorry that there have been so many sort of like jumpy cuts in this video, which I'm pretty sure there have been because noise next door, my camera overheated, I needed a new battery. It's all gone wrong in this video. So hopefully it has come out in some kind of watchable state and you have managed to make it to the end. If you did, then please do let me know. But yes, thank you so very much for watching and listening to me waffle on about my knitting. If you've liked this video, feel free to give it a like. If you are new here and you want to stick around, please do consider subscribing. And I will catch up with you all in a couple of weeks with some more knitting. Happy making!